I'll start as far back as I can kind of remember being, 4 or 5 years old. Actually, as far as back I can remember, we lived in a house about 5 minutes from here. And, I get really good memories about that. I went to Arrington Elementary School, which was a long time ago. Like, so long that they bulldozed it. It was there. So Arrington, holds a very dear place for me. I've kind of always been there. I grew up. I had a brother and a sister, and it was a great growing up. I was growing up in the 80s, right? Like, think about the 80s. You go back to the 80s and like, wish you could go back to the 80s. It was a good deal. I was a chubby kid, but really athletic. God gave me some speed, some stuff, so that helped me kind of get through. There came a time in about grade 7 where things got very confusing for me. I wanted to fit in more. I felt like I didn't belong. I started getting into heavy metal, and I don't know why, but I became very angry. Looking back on it, I definitely think it was a bit of demonic stuff that I started to get into somehow. I started really resenting the way I grew up, that we didn't have money and all the things that we didn't do. And I really tried to, I just didn't like life. It was very, very mad. So, as I was going through, a good year of being angry. Our family split apart through a divorce, and it just gave me more proof that I was right to be angry. God hadn't really entered, but the lyrics I was listening to, the devil made a lot of sense, especially now that my family was broken up. So at a young age, at 15, we kind of went our own ways, and I landed up in the wrong hands. Started getting into some really bad trouble. I was stealing. I was doing really hard drugs at that age. Nothing to do with my family. I was surviving, and looking back, at those years. I can't believe I'm not dead. The things that I've seen, and they just, as they come up for me, I wouldn't want my enemies to see what I've seen for a couple of years there. So it came to a point where the law caught up with me, right? So I'm doing all this crazy stuff. I got kicked out of the community. Like, I was still kind of having my friends in high school, but the community had said there was a big fight thing that happened. I had assault charges. They go, we don't want you. And not only in your high school, but none of the high schools. So more proof that why I was mad, right? So I kept building up this rage and this anger. Nobody wanted me. The community doesn't want me. And it came to a point where, first time I really felt that Jesus, touched me was I was waiting in a jail cell, ready for to go into a juvenile hall. I'd been caught in this house, and the guys pinned me down, and the cops were involved, and I got on my knees, and I remember, like, there was these East Indian guys that were waiting for me in there because of all this other stuff that happened, and they knew I was coming in there, and I was like, this is gonna be bad. Like, this is like, well, how did I get here, right? So I'm on my knees, and I didn't know what I was trying to do, but I knew that I was just rock bottom, man. And I remember the feeling that I got when I was on my knees. I felt like a blanket, or something came over me. And I felt like I was going to be okay. And I went into the juvenile hall. None of these guys were there. I was okay. I was safe. So I still didn't accept Jesus in my heart, and went about for the next couple of years. And still getting into things, still getting into the drugs, the things still kind of persisted. came to a point about a year later where I was really confused about who I was and why I'm here. And I was out in Wembley Mall there, and we all got really drunk, and I laid on the highway there, and I can remember it was 2 in the morning, and the lights coming at me, and it was a semi truck, and it jumped up, and I was done, and I remember just getting this like vision. It was a bolt of lightning, and it was me having children, like it's kind of like the Christmases we have right now. like it's I had a vision of me being a dad. It was like I instantly sobered up, and I ran off the highway, and it was a similar kind of feeling that I had, now looking back on it, but gave me kind of a reason to go on. Fast forward that to about 18 years old, I was then sent by the courts to a boot camp, a really hard one. I spent 6 weeks in there. There were 6 of us that graduated out of like 40 that didn't have to do the program, but I really picked my socks up there, and I was like, you know what, this world's tough. I've got to really. I learned a lot through that program, and I decided when I got out of that, okay, listen, I got to kind of get my stuff together. I still didn't accept my spiritual. I was still very lost. From there, I thought, well, I got to get away from these people. This Vancouver Island's bad. So at a very early age, I went up to the oil patch and started working through the oil fields and around some other people that maybe weren't so good of an influence. But I was working. I was doing what society wanted me to do. I was becoming a man. I had my first daughter, or my first daughter, I guess I have 2 now. I had my first daughter, when I was 21. So I became a father and again, she was born 6 months early. So I found myself on my knees, praying that she was going to be okay. She was okay. I continued on. This comes to the number 2 part. So between 20 and 30 years old, I now was still angry, but I was ready to grow up fast and take charge of this nasty life. I knew I was going to have kids. Never wanted them to be poor or broke or have the lifestyle that I had. And that formed me who I was between I was 20 and 30. I took a lot of big risks in my life. They just happened to kind of pay off financially. I made a lot of money doing some really risky things. I had lots of things and property and money, and but throughout the process, the drug use, like I was a good community member, I would put on a good face, but they call it mood altering. I'm going to say when a child, when a young kid does hard drugs at a young age, the intensity will chase him. Always he needs to kind of be. So I would be good for a year, 6 months through my partners that I had the kids with, but I'd always kind of go on these benders or go missing. I needed a break, so that was really tough. I hurt a lot of people in that decade, and again, I had society told me I had a lot of money, I had a lot of things, so I was able to kind of buy my love and look like I had my stuff together, but I was spiritually bankrupt. I can remember look at all these things, and something was rotting inside of me. And then I was about 30 years old, 32 years old, and I don't know if you guys have ever heard of the psychological term hitting the wall. Well, I think kind of that's what's happened to me, midlife crisis or whatever happened, but things just, I was was going through a divorce. I had 3 different lawyers. Got caught growing marijuana, a lawyer for that, I had a lawyer for the divorce thing, and I was in Fort St. John and I got a DUI. Like, so now I need another lawyer. So 3 lawyers, and I remember before I went back to Vancouver Island, because the incident happened in Fort St. John, there the Bible was, right? So again, I picked the Bible up, and I prayed, and for like that warm feeling came over me, and told me it was going to be okay. So I came back to Vancouver Island, and I reached out to some people that really helped me look at life in a different way, and I got into some treatment programs and some AA and that, and I found that to work for quite a while. I was able to not touch booze and alcohol for like 5 years, and looking back on it now, there's a process there, and I don't know if any of you guys are familiar with it, but that you accept God, let God in, and you kind of give it over to, and that was my first spiritual experience. Like, I think it was a step 4 now. It's been a while, but anyways, the step that we did that, I literally, when I gave all my stuff and repented, like we heard about earlier, my whole body was shaking, like for 24 hours, and I was like, holy man, this is real. Like, so I really kind of knew, but it's still like, as Jesus was in my head, it was still, I felt kind of embarrassing. Like, there was this big energy, Buddha, self-help thing happening then. It was just, even though even my sponsor was a Christian, everybody around me was, I kind of felt like it was uncool or something, or whatever. So, after this, going to AA and learning this stuff, I decided I wanted to get a PhD on me. So I spent the next 10, 12 years doing a lot of self-help stuff. My life kind of just kept getting better every year. Like literally, I didn't know how many people that could say that. Say, you know what, this year was better than last. So I learned a lot of things about myself, and I met my partner, and she taught me what like love really is. So that turmoil, like, oh my goodness, just good things kept happening over and over and over. My kids, and the personal growth stuff was great. I got to learn how to kind of be a leader. My business was going. Kind of thought I kind of had it figured out. But then last summer happened. I would say last June-ish. We're doing all the kind of Buddhism, energy stuff, all the self-help stuff. Life is great, and stuff. But something had kind of, COVID stuff for sure, and it kind of made me look to be like, there's something more here, right? Like, so I remember talking to Mia, and I was like, the whole manifestation thing was really bugging me. Like, kind of felt like how do I know what the greater good is? Like, it just felt selfish, and I brought it up to my partner, and she's like, oh, I was thinking the same thing. So we both were very. Anyways, it wasn't very long after that. The July 28th happened. I was in really good physically shape, mentally shape. I thought spiritual shape, handling business really well, and I had a freaking heart attack. Like, and it just, I don't know. We went into the hospital, to Oceanside Health Center there. And I thought I had like food poisoning. When it was happening, I was like, well, I'm not in that age category. There's no way I eat good. There's no way. Well, long story short, we went down there. They hooked me up, and they were like, "This is happening. Like, you're getting airlifted. You're having a heart attack." And started getting a little freaked out because the helicopter was coming, and the doctor, he did a great job, but he was really nervous. I don't think they're used to dealing with that kind of stuff over at Riverside, but he was dropping his stuff, and he's like, "Are you sure you're okay?" I was just like, yeah. I'm kind of dramatic. Like, you think I'd be freaking out, but kind of was. I was looking at Mia. She had faith in her stomach. So I started to think, like, like, I'm going to be going, like, what's it? There we were in the hall, and the doctor's not helping at all. Are you sure you don't feel anything? I'm like, man, I'm good. And then when he left, I remember it like so clearly. I looked above the door, there was Jesus' face. And that feeling, I was like, I know this feeling. And I looked at Mia, and I grabbed her in the hand. We're going to be okay. Just because I know I've felt this before. And then I was like, but you need to call Billy and get a hold of Aaron. Because Aaron and I kind of hung out and saw him. We trained together, this and that. But, I'm an energy guy. Whatever, you guys do you. And we can. But I was like, it's time. And I wish I could say that that's where I accepted Jesus and that. But it wasn't completely. I knew that I seen God and I believed in God and He's there, but I still was wondering why this happened to me. Like, I understand, don't be a victim, all the personal growth stuff, move on, okay, yeah, I get it all. But like, man, I'm going through my community and they're like, oh, like, we're vaccinated, like this shitting, and all these questions I was having to answer. Like, I don't know why. Like, why did this happen? What is the message here for me? Like, it was driving me wild. To the point where, how, like, God, then show me the reason. Like, it just, so like, well, 3 weeks later, I wake up at 4:30 in the morning. Oh my God. My son doesn't feel right here, babe. Like, so we go into the Nanaimo. They hook me all up again. They're like, yes, we don't know what to say, but your enzymes are through the roof. You've had a cardiac thing, so either your stim has failed or you've had another heart attack. So at this point, I'm just like, this is ridiculous. Like I mean, I'm done, man. Like, I'm done with everything. And that experience of the hospital, Aaron came in and we did some praying, and I just let go. I just completely let go, and I was like, God, just do whatever you want to me. I'm done. And then that morning, so they had said, okay, we're going to run you through all the tests again. Don't worry, you're probably going to have to go to Victoria. We were just back, like, what is going on here? Like, so, and I was just done. So that night, I prayed, and I was just like, I'm done, God. Just do what you want with me. I'm over it. The next day, we were going to roll these tests. I was likely going to have to go to Victoria. It was taking forever. And that morning, I woke up with extreme energy. I woke up and I was like, get this, I had to pace the halls. I had so much energy. And it was super weird because the whole hospital was dark. They said, well, what is going on here? And they said, we don't, like, the power went out. And half our generators are on. I'm like, well, how often does this happen? And she goes, never seen it. Like crazy. So then I kind of go to the end of the hallway there, and a lady's kind of pacing. And as I come over, go talk to her anyways, but she's just like, do you mind if I talk to you? I'm like, well, that's fine. So we sat down, and she'd be struggling with some heart stuff, and after the conversation, she was like, oh, like, thank you so much. And I started really realizing that I'm like, oh yeah, I've done so much in my life where I used to always say, if I die tomorrow, I've seen countries that there's so much I've done. I'm happy. I'll die a happy man. But I don't think like that anymore. I think I have a lot more to do, right? So the band wants to come up. The cool thing is, when I left for the second time, I really started believing. I let God in my heart, my new heart. I decided to get baptized. And the coincidences and the stories and to like, how does it get better than this? My life is filled with purpose now, more than anything or any kind of course ever got me. That feeling that I felt of like the warm blanket feeling, I get to feel that like every minute now. It is such a good feel, right? The community, I'm surrounded by people that like don't want anything from me but to get to know God more, and I love it, right? And so went and got baptized. I went and got baptized with the same river that runs through Arrington. My property's up there. That the same river where we think the heart attack started. The same river where I taught my son how to swim. Justin, you know, it's like there's a picture of us on my baptism, and man, it's like the sun's coming out. There's this little ray, and it's going right across my heart, and it's just like I'm done looking for proof, and I'll never turn my back on. So I thank you guys very much for listening. Talk today.